Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Malcolm Dewey, and in this series I'm going to be talking about paintbrushes. We're going to touch on the most important paintbrushes for oil painting, acrylics and watercolor. In this introductory video I'm going to talk a little bit about the anatomy of the typical paintbrush and what you can look for, and a few tips on selecting the right paintbrush for you. I'm always on the lookout for good quality and affordable paintbrushes. Living in South Africa, that means a lot of the brushes have to be imported, and it can be quite difficult in getting a really good quality brush, especially for oil painting. And if you do find one, they tend to be very expensive, and this can be discouraging for beginners especially. But I do want to emphasize that a good paintbrush does make a difference. It is not just about talent or the paint you're using or practice, although those are important things. But a good quality brush improves the painting experience and the painting that you finish off with. So I've selected a range of brushes made by Georgian. We're going to find out more about the brushes as we go through the series, but I like the look of them and they cover the main areas of oils, acrylics and watercolor. There's also a good range of choice and affordable prices. I've obtained these brushes from Art Savings Club, a supplier of excellent art materials in South Africa. So if you are in this region, look up artsavingsclub.co.za and you'll find the brushes there if you want to try them out for yourself. Let's have a look at a few of the typical characteristics of a paintbrush. This is an example of an oil painting brush made by Georgian. Starting at the top, obviously, the all-important bristles. Then the metal strip holding the bristles is called the ferrule. There's a crimp over here holding it to the handle of the brush. And you can see with an oil painting brush and most acrylic brushes, the handle is long, and that is for a reason, of course, to give you more reach with your painting. With oil painting, generally you don't want the oil painting right up close. You want to get those nice brush strokes down at arm's length. Now with acrylic painting, you'll see in this Georgian brush, very similar when you look at the handle, etc. Also a long handle brush, which indicates a nice arm's length from your painting, and you can get some good broad strokes down with this brush. The watercolor brush, as you can see, a much shorter handle. When working with watercolor, it's going to be more up close. You could be working from top down and you want to stand over the paper as you paint, and a shorter brush makes it easier to hold for that purpose. We'll look at the typical brushes in turn through this series as we go along. Now, a few things about the bristles we'll touch on in more detail. I generally paint in a loose style, what you might call a painterly style of painting. So I'm looking for typically larger bristles, and you'll get different shapes of bristle brushes, which, as you'll see as we work along, there are some that I personally prefer more than others, but of course each artist has their own requirements and preferences. A typical bristle for oil painting would be a natural hog hair bristle or a fine sable type bristle. And for acrylics, you may prefer, and I would certainly suggest, that a synthetic brush would be better for you. Synthetic brushes handling water a lot better than a hog hair brush is going to handle water. Once again, with watercolor, you can get the best of both there as well. Synthetic hair works very nicely. There's also good natural hair brushes, especially for the mop brushes where you'll find something like squirrel hair being used. I want to just emphasize that a good brush is going to also pay you back in the long term. A brush such as this will last several months, maybe longer, depending on how you paint. You're not going to lose the bristles as they fall out and become an annoyance. It's nothing worse than having to constantly pick out bristles from your wet paintings. So little things like that have a profound influence. Plus the construction and assembling of the bristles is important. You want bristles that return to shape. Proper cleaning, of course, is important, and we'll touch on that too. But you want your bristles to return to shape and the brush to be in good order the next time you use it. A poorly made brush will quickly result in splayed bristles. That is particularly irritating, and you may as well then throw that brush away. It's now useless. But I do find that paying a bit extra for a good quality oil painting brush means that brush is going to be used for a long time. In fact, it's more likely the brush is going to meet the end of its days with very short bristles as they've worn down over time. That is what you want. You want a brush you can rely on that delivers good results. You don't want to worry about the brush or think about it as you're painting. Your focus must be on the painting, and a good brush makes that possible. In the next video, we're going to look more at the oil painting brushes and different shapes of brushes. I'll see you in that video. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get notifications of each new video in this series as well.